Hi, again we're in the portion of the week, and this week we have a very unique portion because it talks about, it's like we are in the desert, okay, preview. We are in the desert traveling. We have like 3 episodes that deal with the crisis of leadership. In the last episode, Miriam, we have like these 3 siblings that are the leaders. Miriam, the prophet, the woman, she dies. And then the Israelites ran out of water, which is like a symbol of femininity, of the inner side, the belief, which is always from within. It is never in what we see, because if we see it, it's not a belief. And then Moses and Aaron, they sin. It's not exactly clear what their sin is, but God punishes them by killing them in the desert, and Moses doesn't get to see the Holy Land. Aaron dies in the same episode, and so we see this dichotomy between between femininity, which is connected, which is like to the inner morality, and masculinity, which is external, and as it problems with like real belief, and it goes through all over the Torah and the Bible, this theme. And now we move on to a very strange story. Okay, it begins. Let's share, because this story is really strange, because what we have in this story is a leader, a spiritual leader, which is not part of Israel, is a foreigner. And what happens is that the king of Moab hears what happened, like in the last episode, the Israelites fight like 3 nations. Of course, they win. So he hears about Balak, son of Zippor, that's his name. So all that Israel had done to the Amorites, and Moab, this is the name of the nation, was alarmed because that people were so numerous. Moab dreaded the Israelites. Okay, and what happens is that he calls. What he does is something really strange in our times. He sends messenger to Balaam, son of Beor in Petor, which is by the Ephraim, never mind, whatever, to invite him, saying, there is a people that came out of Egypt, it hides the earth from you, and it is settled next to me. Come then, put a curse upon these people for me, since they are too numerous for me. Perhaps I can thus defeat them and drive them out of the land. For I know that he whom you bless is blessed indeed, and he whom you curse is cursed. Okay, so what's so strange about it is that, like, we would think that it would recruit an army, that it would like think of some kind of a strategy. But what it does, it calls a witch. And as we find out later in the portion, this witch is actually a poet, because his curses and blessings are written in the form of poetry. And what this poet / witch replies to the king, and it goes through all this parasha. It says to him, I cannot, let's share again, even though the translation is really bad. But, okay. Okay, he sends like a representatives, and what he tells them, just a second. It repeats itself. Like Balaam sent representative twice, and he answers them, and this is one of the phrases. Balaam replied to Balak's officials, though Balak were to give me his house full of silver and gold, I could not do anything, big or little, contrary to the command of the Lord my God. Okay? So he's like, his answer, his reply is not like, yeah, I'm gonna write the perfect song. I'm gonna curse them with the. You've never heard such a curse in your life. This is like motherfucker. What he replies again and again and again is, I cannot. It's not my words. I can only curse or bless them if God wants me to. And what happens is, like, spoiler, it is 3 times he consoles. He consults God, and then in the beginning, like Balak sends like representatives, and the God tells him, no, you don't go with them because you cannot curse these people. He sends Balak sends another group of officials, and then God says, okay, yalla, you can go with them. And then there is a strange story that we're gonna get to. But at the end, like 3 times, like Bilam meets with Balak, and 3 times he tries to curse them. He's not really trying to curse them. He just is talking to God, and God puts the words in his mouth. So 3 times, what happens is that instead of a curse, he expresses a blessing. And this theme, this is what I want to talk about. It's the idea, which is so strange in our times, that the prophet is an artist, a poet, and he's not expressing the words or your art or whatever, the dance, the painting, whatever. It's not your own words. You are a messenger of God. And another thing that is like unbelievable in our times is that the political leader sees the spiritual leader as the one who is gonna who is really ruling, like the material world. It's not the military. It's not your fortune. It's the spiritual leader. Okay, and those are 2 things that I think is like, I believe in them. I believe that this is the way the world is built. That really, like, what shapes our world today is like the movie, the film industry, TV, the art world. That artists are really like the visionaries, and they're really molding the world. And it's like, it's very simple. It's like, when our leaders today, we don't know them. It's not like a tribal system. We don't know them personally. We only know them through TV. So actually, the news are created as a form of performance, as a form of entertainment. So politics for us is entertainment. And it doesn't really determine the way we live our daily lives. What determines our daily life, hence our cultures, hence our politics, hence our view of the world, is the reality shows, or what we call entertainment. And actually the stories, it's not the laws that shapes our daily lives, it's the stories, because this is the way our mind works. This is the idea of the Torah, and that God is a storyteller. Because now we know that people don't think in lines and in rules, and they think in stories. We every memory that we have, everything. This is Freud was so wrong. We don't remember as it was. We cannot. The mind is like, we would explode. What happens is that it's like enters our mind in the shape of like in all kinds of senses, and then when we try to when we recreate this memory, it's like we create a story the way we told it to ourselves, our parents told us. It's so there is nothing like, there is no tangible memory. And then those stories determine the way we deal with our lives, the way we think about our lives. Is it like a trauma? Is it not a trauma? Is it like bad, or did I do it to myself? Did it like, it's so. Now we live in times where politics is actually entertainment, and entertainment is actually the politics as it always was. But now entertainment is really a big part of our lives. And it's exactly like the dictatorship that we have now. It's quite known. It's like through bread and entertainment. It's like the Roman method, because the way we don't have channels. Like what we have today is exactly the opposite of this leader, Balak. because the people that create the movies today, they created like TV entertainment or news, they all belong to the same bourgeoisie, middle upper class, and they live a reality which is really, really the, 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 the most detached that you can imagine from the reality of the entire humanity. And instead of being like an anchor, a channel to the truth of God, of like the collective, what they are doing is exactly the opposite. And we don't see poor people as heroes. We only see like, it's like they only like encourage materialism, the way like everything to do with gender. Yeah, you would never, never. I mean, I'm sorry for the narcissism, but you will never see a woman which is like intellectual on like on entertainment. And if you do see a woman which is supposedly intellectual, she will come with a suit. She will look like with no like feminine characteristics. She will be like the news presenter. She like the suit that they wear is like almost masculine, or like a middle-aged professor. Uh, they will never show a representation of femininity, which is like the source, like if intellectual and artistic, they will always create this dichotomy. Everything about the entertainment today is destructive and is creating this world of division and hatred, and the opposite of communication. The opposite of communication. And so, okay, so this is exactly the opposite of the leadership of the leadership of Balaam, which was so connected, which knew that he's only like the voice of God, and it's not his. And also now, like the leaders, they're artistic leaders, they are also like the voice of God, because God is like really detached from us, and masculinity and femininity are really detached, and we live in the times of ego. And today the idea is that the artists, like we go to see a show, to see not a show, like a plastic, when we go to see, like if we go, if you're from a very, very small minority that bothers going to galleries, we don't go to really to see the exhibition. What we are going to see is the artist, his name, the name. But if it's art, what the fuck is it important who created it? Because it's supposed to express the universal truth. Yeah, so now it's exactly the opposite. And this is why we do not feel really reality. And now with all this fake news and this COVID, it's really like it's like on the surface, because people feel that there is some kind of a truth and they don't get it. Yeah, they don't get it. Something is going on behind the scenes, and it's exactly like the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz is a great metaphor, and the Wizard of Oz is an example of an artist as a prophet, because the Wizard of Oz is like it was written as an anti-capitalistic, like this guy Frank L. Baum was an anti-capitalist and feminist, and he wrote it about like against the American system. Even if he wasn't aware, there are so many symbols, and like the wizard is not really a wizard. What he is a white guy that came with the privileges of like of Earth. He has these tools that the other people don't have, and he's bullshitting them behind the scenes, because he's a scared, frightened white guy that doesn't know how to get to mama, and he's detached from himself. So he's fooling everyone behind the scenes. And the prophecy says, like the nice metaphor says, that the opposite of it is a simple girl that walks with her dog, which is a symbol of unconditional love. And what she does throughout the story is like giving people the courage, the insight, the courage to believe in what they have from inside and not from outside, which is what we have today in our very, very materialistic masculine culture. So yeah, this is just and so and here I want to say, like in the that in this parasha we have something quite amazing in the middle, when Balaam, after the second attempt of Balak to send his official, so Balaam goes with them with God's approval, and then something really strange happens, because it seems that God is not really satisfied with his permission. And then we have this amazing, strange cinematic scene where Balaam writes on his she-s. In the translation, it's not, it's again, wow, a case of very, very misfortunate translation. He walks with his she-s donkey, yeah, and this donkey, which is a female donkey, sees the angel of God approaching with a sword, yeah, and 3 times she's like avoiding this angel, but Balaam doesn't see this angel, like his eyes are sort of closed, and after he's like really he's beating his ass like 3 times, and after the third attempt, like God unveils his eyes, and he also see this angel, and they and oh, I forgot, the most important thing is that before this happens, the donkey starts talking to him, and it's like really the most humane, amazing, nice conversation. Like she asked him, "Have I ever done this to you? Why are you beating me up? Look, it's now there is an angel of God. He tried to, if I wouldn't do this, he would kill you." And then he apologizes. It's so nice. It's really unique because the Bible, it's very, very, very unique. Because all this story is very unique, but this is really unique because besides the talks with God, like the Bible is quite realistic. This is, I think, maybe the only example I can find of something which is like really from like a Disney movie. And it's not my insight that it's a Disney movie, like, but I quote it. It's very important to say when it's not your own idea. It's really, and I think that first of all, it's really interesting that they choose that the writers that are from God, the evolution of the story and the way it was formed, and that it's a female. But as we can see from Eve and then Sarah and then all those numerous examples, it's always the women that have this internal insight, always. And the men need to see visually. And we know that it's the way like femininity and masculinity work. And even though Balaam is like a prophet and a poet and he's connected to God, even though it's like he's the femininity and the animal side is the side that is really connected to God, because as like the thing is that the okay, I'll finish with this. That one of the first blessings that it's a very like it's poetry. It's quite difficult to understand this poetry, but there are some things that are really prophetic. And what's amazing about them that we can only really understand them in our times. And one of the first blessing curses is that the Ambadad, you see here Allah in the background. Now the ones in this one. And stop. Anyway, עם בדל ישכון ובגויים לא יתחשב. Now the going, it means that like we, maybe I'll try to find it in the, but the translation is bad anyway. I can find it, but it's like, it wouldn't be exactly like sorry. But you can hear the mosque now? Where is it? Okay, it means that I don't know where it is. It's like okay, so never mind. It means that Am Badadishkon, like Am is like nation, that we shall live alone, and we shall not consider the nations around us. And now we know, and this is what like I've discovered in and this is something that like for me it is very important to talk about, is that throughout history, and this is why I'm saying it's only one now we can really understand the prophecy, because now we have the perspective and we have more and more like historical knowledge, and now we know that the Israelites really lived alone, always in close communities, and that they were divided into classes, and that the elites always collaborated with the authorities. This is why the Jews were always a very privileged minority, because the elites of the Jews always collaborated with the authorities and created the economic and like cultural, because they are connected, the cultural and economic method. And since the history of humanity from Mesopotamia till now, yeah, since we started with the agricultural revolution, I think, till now, is a story of classes and patriarchy and slavery. It means the Jews have always, like, not the collective of the Jews, because there is no such thing as a collective of Jews, because the Jews are divided between themselves and they suffer from the same phenomena within themselves. But the elite of the Jews is responsible for human suffering since forever and ever, and since now. And I'll say something like, which is like that relates also to the parasha. Our sages, they call Bilam, this prophet, they call him Bilam the wicked, because they created this dichotomy of the good Jews against the others, which are bad. This masculine dichotomy. But actually, when you read the Torah, with the way I read it, which is, I think, the only way you can really read it is it's the sharpest critique against the Jewish existence since the beginning, against patriarchy that Abraham is representing its beginning, and at the end of this parasha we see, and this is a really amazing, like you can see the only in this parasha we can see that like this is exactly the thing, is that the Israelites really sin. They have like sexual activity with the daughters of Midian, another foreign nation, which is connected to Moab, and they worship their gods. Okay, just at the end of this parasha. Okay, only from this dichotomy you can understand that God is blessing the Israelites not because they are the best, it's because they are maybe the worst, because they have this tendency to worship other gods. And we can see also from the previous chapter parasha and from the end of this parasha is that Balaam is not the opposite of the moral amazing Israelites. He is a mirror for our fucked up leadership, that our leadership is not believing enough, that because all over this parasha he doesn't want to curse the Israelites and then the opposite happens. He's neutral. He says repeatedly over and over again, I am not, these are not my words, it doesn't matter, it's God's words. He is maybe the best believer in all of the Bible. Yeah? And Okay, and it so happens, I want to finish with a quote. It so happens a lot in my life. I really feel this way about my life. Maybe it's, I'm sorry about again the narcissism, that like I have no control over my life. Things just happen to me like with no control. But and after they happen, I understand. Wow, like it should have happened. This is exactly what should have happened, even though it wasn't good for me as a person. It's good for this is the way I can understand what I understand and interpret reality or whatever the way I can. And so it so happened that I have this job. Like I help. I'm like a very very minor research assistant for a doctor that deals with the Jews in the Judaism in Yemen and the Indian Ocean. And this week I'm reading an amazing text about the Jews of Cochin in the south of India, where they had like this very strict class system that differentiated between the black Jews and the white Jews very explicitly, and also it also connects with like with classes with because never mind. And there is a description of the Jewish community. I think it's like the beginning of the 20th century by an Indian anthropologist. Okay. The social conditions of the Jews are very much governed by the religion, the Sabbath, and the territory law. Very seldom can they eat with their Hindus and Mohammedan neighbors, nor can they share their joys and sorrows. They rest when others are working and work when others enjoy rest. They are rich in all the virtues, devout and tolerant, and strong in their reliance and faith, hope, and more especially charity. Because of their social aspiration can be sought in the centuries of their oppression in Europe and other countries. Isolation, which has been called by Darwin the corniest of breeders, is more operative in molding the Jews as we meet them today. They will look forward to the Messiah, the heaven-sent leader, under whose guidance they are to attain splendor and the supremacy which they claim to be theirs. Okay? So now we are stuck only with the supremacy complex and with no belief, and only like a small minority of the Jews keep their rules. But the Jews were always secluded, and they had these tools of abstract mind and well-being that created them, that created this elite that fucked up the world because of the rules that we have. But when we were in exile, they escaped the fate, because when you are like secluded and when you have to believe in the Messiah, because you cannot, you don't have your own land and you can always like be expelled, then you have to believe in the redemption. And this is like in this short paragraph, it's amazing because it describes so many elements of the Jewish existence that in Zionism faded away, and only like a minority of the Jews keep those rules. We don't have any faith anymore. We are back to square one, and yeah, and we really don't consider and we really like we are alone in the Middle East, but now for the wrong reasons, because of the Europe, not for the right reasons, and we really don't consider our neighbors, really, yeah. And like Zionism is like the worst thing that ever happened to Judaism, and I hope, inshallah, I really pray for the Messiah, because I cannot, I don't have a home, I don't have a tribe. I speak to 4 amazing people, but 3, but like I cannot speak in my own language, Hebrew, which I love so much. I have nothing because of this fucking Zionism. So I sure do hope for the Messiah, whatever that means, for the redemption. And I try to keep those rules the way, yeah, with the wrong kind of halakha that we have today. And yeah, I can, yeah. And I hope that this is the end, like really, it's like really very, very soon we're going to see the end of this lonely, egocentric, narcissistic, isolated, fucked up Jewish existence as a group that believes that it's connected to God more than others. It's exactly the opposite. This is exactly why God chose us, because we were the furthest from Him. We started off as the most like patriarchal group, materialistic group, because God fucking loves challenges. And now it's the time for this experiment to end. And as we say in the prayer, but the Jews don't listen. At the end of time, there will be only one God, and there will be no privileged group anymore, because this shit. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, inshallah.